Rain hammered against the windows of Damian Cruz's photography studio, hard enough to sound like fists. Inside, somebody actually was pounding on the door. "Open the damn door, Damian!" Noah Bennett's voice tore through the hallway outside, while the old building echoed from floor to floor. Damian stood frozen near his editing desk, breathing hard, staring at the engagement photo displayed on his monitor. Noah and Elena, smiling. Perfect. Destroyed. Another violent slam rattled the glass. "You think hiding in there changes anything?" Across the room, Elena stood beside the half-zipped camera bag she'd dropped moments earlier. Her mascara had smeared from crying, but she wasn't crying anymore. Now she just looked terrified. Not for herself, for Damian. "You need to let him in," she whispered. Damian laughed nervously. "Yeah? And say what exactly?" Outside, Noah kicked the door again. "You got 5 seconds before I break this thing down." Damian's eyes drifted toward the memory card sitting beside his keyboard. Tiny, black, almost meaningless, except that 30 minutes earlier he'd finally watched what was on it. And now everything was over. The friendship, the wedding, maybe even somebody's life. Elena stepped closer. "He doesn't know about the recording yet." "No," Damian muttered, "but he knows something." The hallway suddenly went silent. Too silent. Damian frowned. "Noah?" Nothing. Then came the sound neither of them expected. Footsteps walking away. Slowly. Calmly. Like Noah had suddenly decided something far worse than screaming. Damian moved toward the peephole. And the second he looked through it, his blood turned cold. The hallway was empty, except for a small envelope sitting on the floor outside the door. His name was written across it in black marker, and beneath it only 4 words: "You missed one photo." If you enjoy emotionally explosive stories packed with betrayal, secrets, twists, and impossible choices, subscribe now, because this story only gets darker from here. 3 months earlier, none of this was supposed to happen. Back then, Damian Cruz still believed cameras told the truth. That was before he learned people only smiled when somebody was watching. Most mornings in Brooklyn started the same way for him. Coffee from the corner bodega, headphones on, camera around his neck, pretending he was one lucky break away from becoming somebody important. At 29, Damian had photographed everything except his own future. Street musicians, late-night subway rides, couples fighting outside bars, kids playing basketball under flickering lights. His photos had emotion, soul, realness. Unfortunately, realness didn't pay rent, which explained why he lived above a laundromat that shook every time the dryers ran downstairs. Still, Damian had one thing most people envied: Noah Bennett. Noah had been his best friend since middle school, the kind of friendship people assumed would last forever. Noah was the opposite of Damian in almost every possible way. Where Damian observed life quietly, Noah attacked it loudly. Expensive watches, perfect suits, a smile that could sell water during a flood. By 32, Noah had already climbed halfway up Brooklyn's real estate ladder. Luxury condos, investors, networking parties Damian hated attending. Yet somehow, Noah never stopped dragging him along. "You need people to see your work," Noah kept insisting. What Noah never understood was that Damian didn't want people seeing him. That was the problem with photographers. They learned how to disappear. The first crack in everything appeared on a Thursday night in Williamsburg. Noah had rented an entire rooftop bar to celebrate his engagement. That was where Damian saw Elena Moretti again for the first time in years. Not dramatically, not romantically. She was standing near the edge of the rooftop, struggling to relight birthday candles the wind kept blowing out on a tiny dessert tray. Nobody else even noticed. Damian did, because that was what he noticed. Small moments everybody ignored. Elena finally gave up and laughed to herself, and something about that laugh hit him harder than it should have. She looked different now, not physically, tired differently, like someone carrying invisible weight. When Noah introduced them again, Elena smiled warmly. "So the famous photographer finally appears." Damian smirked. "Famous might be generous." "Oh, please," Noah interrupted. "This guy once got paid $400 for a picture of a subway rat. It was artistic. It was a rat eating pizza. It represented society." Elena laughed again. That laugh stayed with Damian all night. He hated that it did. Over the next few weeks, Noah pulled Damian deeper into wedding preparations. At first it made sense. Noah trusted him, needed photos, needed help designing invitations. Needed someone to keep Elena company while he handled investors. That last part should have been the warning, because Noah was everywhere, except beside his fiancée. Damien started noticing things. Elena sitting alone during venue meetings. Elena pretending not to care when Noah canceled dinner again. Elena staring silently at couples dancing in restaurants, while Noah answered business calls outside. One rainy evening after tasting cakes in downtown Brooklyn, Elena finally said something that shifted everything. "You know what's funny?" Damien glanced up from his camera bag. "What?" "I spend more time talking to you than the man I'm marrying." The comment landed heavier than she intended. Damien tried joking it away. "Yeah, but I'm cheaper." She smiled weakly, then looked out the cab window. "I don't think Noah even notices me anymore." Damien should have shut the conversation down right there. Instead, he asked, "Why are you marrying him?" Silence. Traffic lights reflected across her face while the cab crawled through wet streets. Finally, she answered softly, "Because I already built my whole life around him." That sentence haunted Damien for days, and things only got worse. Because Elena started becoming the person he wanted to talk to first every morning, then every night, then constantly. One afternoon, Damien photographed engagement shots for them near the Brooklyn Bridge. From behind the camera, he watched Noah kiss Elena between poses. But the second Noah walked away to answer another phone call, Elena's smile vanished instantly. Damien lowered the camera slowly. "You okay? Do I look okay?" "No," he admitted. That honesty changed something. After the shoot, they walked through Dumbo together, while Noah disappeared into another meeting. Elena confessed she'd once nearly moved to California years ago for an architecture internship. "I wanted out of New York so badly," she said. "What happened?" "Noah convinced me to stay." "You regret it?" She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. Then came the night everything crossed the line. Damien's studio lost power during a storm, forcing him to finish editing photos by candlelight and laptop battery. Elena showed up unexpectedly carrying takeout containers. "Noah canceled again," she explained. Rain pounded outside while they ate noodles, sitting on the floor beside photography equipment and stacked canvases. For the first time in months, Elena looked relaxed. She wandered around studying Damien's photographs hanging on the walls. "You see people differently," she said quietly. Damien shrugged. "That's what photographers do." "No," she replied. "You see who they are when nobody's performing?" He looked at her carefully. "And who are you when nobody's performing?" Elena opened her mouth, then closed it, then kissed him. Quickly, emotionally, like she regretted it halfway through doing it. The second they pulled apart, both of them looked horrified. "This can't happen," Damien said immediately. "I know." But neither moved away. And that was the real beginning of the disaster. Over the following weeks, guilt poisoned everything. Damien avoided Noah. Elena became emotionally distant. Noah became suspicious without understanding why. Meanwhile, the wedding kept getting closer. Then the anonymous envelope arrived. Damien found it shoved beneath his studio door one morning. Inside were printed photographs. Him and Elena outside a cafe. Him touching her hand in a taxi. Elena entering his building late at night. Someone had been watching them. Damien's stomach dropped. No note, no threat, just proof. And instead of telling Noah the truth, Damien hid the envelope inside a desk drawer. That decision would later destroy all three of them. About a week later, Noah got drunk during his bachelor party planning dinner. Not happy drunk, dangerous drunk. The kind where old regrets crawl out. "I ever tell you the craziest thing I did for Elena?" Noah slurred while they walked home through Park Slope. Damien's pulse tightened immediately. "No!" Noah laughed bitterly. "She almost left New York once." Damien stayed silent. "I couldn't let that happen." Something about Noah's tone felt wrong. "What do you mean?" Noah stared ahead at the empty street. "I made some calls." Damien frowned. "What kind of calls?" But Noah suddenly shook his head. "Forget it." At the time, Damien assumed Noah meant jealousy, manipulation, maybe even cheating. He had no idea the truth was much darker. Days later, Elena accidentally left an entire wedding planning folder inside Damien's studio during an argument. They'd fought about confessing everything to Noah. Damien wanted honesty. Elena wanted time. "I'm trying to stop hurting everybody." "You think waiting helps?" Damien snapped. She stormed out crying, forgetting the folder beside the couch. Damien barely looked at it. Huge mistake. Because hidden inside was a vendor receipt connected to the anonymous photographs. The clue sat inches from him for weeks, unnoticed. Then came another cliffhanger. One night, Damien returned home and immediately sensed something was wrong. Tiny details. A crooked picture frame, a moved camera lens, one desk drawer slightly open. Someone had entered the apartment, but nothing was stolen, except one thing, the envelope of photographs. Now Damien knew whoever sent them had come back for a reason, and suddenly Brooklyn no longer felt safe. Meanwhile, Noah's behavior became increasingly erratic. He started asking strange questions. Think people can hide who they really are forever? You ever feel like everyone lies eventually? You'd tell me if something was going on, right? Each question felt like a trap. Damien started barely sleeping. Then Elena vanished. 2 nights before her bridal shower, nobody could reach her for nearly 12 hours. Noah panicked. Her parents panicked. Even Damien feared the worst. Then Elena finally returned home, claiming she just needed space. But Damien noticed bruises on her wrist. She tried hiding. Before he could ask about them, she whispered something terrifying. "Somebody followed me last night." That changed everything. Damien became convinced the anonymous photographer was escalating. He wanted Elena to go to police. She refused. "Noah can't find out like this." Damien stared at her in disbelief. "You still care more about the wedding than your safety. You don't understand what happens if this explodes." No, he understood perfectly. That was the problem. The next major crack came from Jamal Pierce. Jamal had known Damien long enough to recognize panic before Damien spoke a word. "You look like a man burying bodies," Jamal joked while helping edit photos. Damien forced a laugh. Then Jamal casually dropped the sentence that changed everything. "I saw Noah meeting somebody weird last week." Damien froze. "Who?" "Older woman. Rich-looking. Angry." "When?" "Night outside your building, actually." Damien's stomach dropped instantly. Outside his building? Jamal continued. "Thought it was family drama or something." Family. That word stuck in Damien's head all night. Then came the damaged memory card. Damien found it inside an old camera bag while preparing backup wedding footage. At first he assumed it was corrupted, but after hours recovering files, one video finally opened. Grainy, dark, shaky. The footage appeared accidental, as if the camera had been recording inside Damien's studio unnoticed. Voices echoed off screen. Noah's voice. Elena's voice. Damien leaned closer. Then his entire body went cold. "You sabotaged my internship," Elena said through tears. Silence. Then Noah answered quietly. "I did what I had to do." Damien stopped breathing. "You told them I turned down the position." "You were leaving me." "I was leaving New York. You think I cared?" The room spun around Damien. Years earlier, Noah had secretly interfered with Elena's architecture career opportunity in California, so she would stay in Brooklyn, so she would stay close to him, so eventually he could marry her. Damien replayed the footage 3 times in disbelief. Then came the banging on the studio door, which brought everything back to the beginning. Now Noah was outside, Elena was terrified, and Damien finally understood how deep the lies went. But after Noah mysteriously walked away, Damien opened the hallway door cautiously and picked up the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Not Damien, not Elena. It was Ruth Bennett, Noah's mother, standing outside Damien's studio weeks earlier holding a camera. On the back of the photo were handwritten words. She did this to protect him. Damien immediately realized the truth. Ruth had been the anonymous stalker, not because she hated Damien, because she feared scandal destroying Noah's business deals, reputation, and wedding. The photos, the break-ins, the surveillance, it was all damage control. But before Damien could process it fully, his phone rang. "Noah." Damien answered carefully. "You done hiding?" Noah asked coldly. "Where are you?" "At the church." Silence. Then Noah added, "Bring the memory card." Damien's blood froze. How did he know? The wedding day arrived beneath dark gray skies that threatened rain all morning. Inside the church, hundreds of guests filled pews, whispering excitedly about delayed schedules and missing groomsmen. Nobody knew the real disaster unfolding backstage. Damien found Noah alone inside a preparation room, adjusting his tie in silence. No shouting, no violence, which somehow felt worse. "You saw the video," Noah said calmly. Damien didn't answer. Noah laughed softly. "She recorded that argument years ago after snooping through my office." You ruined her future. No, Noah snapped suddenly. I protected our future. You manipulated her life. And you slept with my fiancé. The silence afterward felt deadly. Finally, Noah said quietly, You know what hurts most? Damien looked away. I trusted you more than anybody. For one horrible moment, Damien almost apologized. Then Elena entered the room, still wearing her wedding dress, still shaking, but no longer uncertain. She looked directly at Noah. I'm not marrying you. Noah closed his eyes slowly, like he'd expected it all along. Outside, thunder rolled across Brooklyn. Then chaos erupted. Family members yelling, guests confused, Ruth screaming at Elena, someone crying in the hallway, phones recording everything. And in the middle of it all, Noah grabbed Damien by the collar. You think she'll choose you after this? Damien shoved him back. It's over, Noah. No, Noah whispered bitterly. Now it finally starts. Hours later, clips from the canceled wedding flooded social media. By morning, the scandal had spread across Brooklyn. The runaway bride, the betrayal, the exposed business manipulation. And unexpectedly, Damien's photography exploded online. His emotional wedding photographs became viral symbols of raw honesty. Gallery owners contacted him. Publishers called. Interviews flooded his inbox. Success finally arrived. At the exact moment, his real life collapsed. Noah disappeared from public view completely. Ruth stopped speaking to him. Elena moved out of her apartment and vanished for months. And Damien discovered something brutal about getting everything you thought you wanted. Sometimes it costs too much to enjoy it. 6 months later, Damien stood inside a crowded Brooklyn photography exhibit, showcasing his work for the first time professionally. Huge framed prints lined white gallery walls. People admired his ability to capture emotion, pain, love, truth. Ironically, none of them knew how much destruction stood behind every image. Near the end of the night, a gallery assistant approached, carrying a sealed package. This was left for you. No name. She shook her head. Damien opened it slowly. Inside was a photograph. Him, standing inside the gallery only minutes earlier. Someone had taken it from across the street. Heart pounding, Damien turned toward the window. And there, across the road beneath the glowing city lights, stood Elena, watching him silently. Before he could move, a subway train thundered past the intersection, and when it cleared, she was gone.